You're back from your travels, Narayan?
Yes. I'm back, but on a short break, considering this is a long weekend. Just come over near Nandi Hills.
Oh, nice.
Glad I'm meeting there.
So it's 7:30. We'll get started. I call the 40th meeting of Rotary Bangalore Cantonment to order. May I all request you to observe 1 minute of silence for world peace. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting and a very, very warm welcome to our guest speaker today, Beena Rani. Privileged to have you. We heard some very nice things about you from Jasbir. Looking forward to hearing you speak about a very, very engrossing topic, I guess, anti-child trafficking, something that many of us haven't spoken about too much, but we would love to hear from you. We also have along with you Sumedha Sharma. Sumedha, welcome. Thank you for joining us. A quick couple of announcements. One is that the district conference is on Friday, this Saturday at the Palace Grounds. We have 25 registrations from the club, which is again a very it's a record by sorts, having 25 people representing Rotary Bangalore Cantonment at the conference. The conference starts at 9 o'clock. Breakfast is at 8. We have some form of procession of presidents and a few people. So it'll be nice if you can join us for that. 8 a.m. 8 a.m. is the procession and then goes into the inaugural session at 9 o'clock. Breakfast, lunch and dinner to be. So look forward to seeing all those who have registered. Please come there by about 8 o'clock at the conference hall. Good amount of speakers, good prominent speakers at the sessions. That goes into the second day and ends by about 4 o'clock on Sunday. So I'm hoping that many of you will be there for many of the sessions during these 2 days. Also, one small announcement about the program on the 28th, that's a week after, we are having the International Goodwill and Understanding Award. And this is being presented to a very, very prominent international figure who probably many of you would know. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. I'm waiting for the international services team to announce the name. But 28th of this month, that is Thursday, is the IGUA award. Please be there. It's a dinner meet. So looking forward to all of you being there on that day. I now hand over to our UK-based Secretary Nanda to take over the announcements. You're on mute, Nanda.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Nanda.
Well, good evening. As far as the programs of the last week goes, on the 12th of April, the Community Service Committee, in association with the Rajarajeshwari Medical College, conducted a multidisciplinary health checkup camp at the government school in Kerhalli. About 70 persons living in the nearby areas attended the camp. The beautician training course for the second batch of 17 persons, which is being conducted by the Vocational Services Committee, is in progress at the RHL. The Youth Services Committee is on track on organizing the Young Achievers Award, which will be held on Sunday, the 15th of next month. And there are several group meetings which are taking place to organize this and see that it's a big event that happens. Similarly, the International Services Committee, as the President said, has just finalized the awardee for the International Goodwill and Understanding Award. The details will be circulated shortly, and the meeting to confer this award will be held on the 28th of this month. Now, as far as birthdays and anniversaries that are being celebrated this week, Manjunath celebrates his birthday on the 17th of April. And for the aunts and spouses, Sunil Kumar, the spouse of Rotarian Sharmila, celebrates his birthday on the 20th of April. And there are no wedding anniversaries that are being celebrated this coming week. On behalf of the club, wishing Manjunath and Sunil the very best of health and happiness in the years to come. Now, for the program of the forthcoming week, as again the president just announced, the district conference is being held at the Palace grounds this Saturday and Sunday. We have so far 24 Rotarians and 1 AN who have registered for the conference. The next Youth Services Committee meeting will be held on Wednesday, the 20th of April. Well, that's the announcements for the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Nanda. I also forgot to tell you the Deputy Consul of the Japanese Consulate is presiding over the IGUA function. He's accepted to be the chief guest of that day. So thanks for connecting us to him. Now I'll request our past president Jasbir to introduce our guest of honor, Beena Rani. Jasbir, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, Beena and your colleague. It's my pleasure to introduce Beena Rani, who I've known for a very long time. Beena Rani is the founder and CEO of iPartner India, a registered NGO in India and in the UK. She has over 2 decades of experience in driving social change and has raised over UK pounds 12 million towards more than 200 projects which are directly benefiting 1 million women, children in India. It was in the year 2018, iPartner India launched an initiative to address a very serious issue of child trafficking in India. The focus from iPartner was more on prevention, stopping it before it happens. iPartner's initiative is called Rakshan, which was born out of this need and created a secure and safe space for vulnerable, at-risk children. Beena Rani is an alumni of St. Joseph's College of Commerce, Bangalore, which also happens to be my alma mater. She is married to Salil Shetty, another alumni of the same college. Till recently, Salil was the Secretary General of Amnesty International based in UK and has held many high positions also. Beena has 2 children, daughter Tashi, who works for a non-profit in London called Girls' Day School Trust, which encourages equal access to education for girls. Her son Tahir lives in Sydney and works for E&Y. On a lighter note, both Beena and Salil have been personal friends. On campus, Beena was known as the girl with the deepest dimples and the friendliest girl on campus. Over to Beena for her.
Beena, over to you. You could, Sumedha, you could present right now.
Yeah. Good evening, and thank you all, the Rotary Club of Bangalore Cantonment, for this honor and the opportunity to present the work of iPartner India to all of you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jasbir, for that warm welcome. And I know we do go back a long way. And I think as soon as you said that, I started smiling and I thought I shouldn't show the deep dimples, but I think it's kind of automatic. So anyway, we are here. I'm going to present a serious topic, and I hope it doesn't cut too close to the bone for many of you. Every 8 minutes, a child goes missing in India. That amounts to 180 children a day. That's 65,700 children a year. And these are the official statistics from the government of India. So we know that the reality is probably a lot higher and a lot worse than these statistics. Worldwide, the trafficking industry, if we can call it that, is a $150 billion industry and exponentially growing. Millions of our children are being trafficked for forced labor, domestic slavery, and the more lucrative sex trade. We live in an interconnected world, and I feel that we cannot allow this to happen on our watch. So I am Beena Rani, the founder and chief executive of iPartner India. And this, and my colleague Sumedha Sharma is joining me from Delhi. I am currently based out of Bangalore. And I started, I've been working in the social sector, as Jasbir said, for about 25 years now. But I started my career in the banking and insurance industry. And my moment of epiphany came when a friend from school came to visit me at my workplace, and we used to call her the NGO type. And she said, she came to meet me at my workplace and said, I work with the sex worker, I work with the child sex workers outside your office. And I was in a state of shock. I thought, MG Road, broad daylight. I mean, this can't be true. And I knew Bangalore has some dodgy areas at night, but I mean, broad daylight, I said, this I have to see for myself. So I went down with her. And sure enough, there were about 6 girls between the ages of 8 and 14 standing outside the door. And this kind of came as a complete shock to me. And I just thought, I cannot live this blinkered existence anymore. I just had to do something about it. So anyway, to fast forward many years later, I quit my job and I joined, I worked for different NGOs in India, in Kenya, and the UK, where my husband was posted in different places. So I, like a good wife, I followed him wherever he went. And somewhere in 2006, and I think the image of little Lakshmi, and I think what struck me about that encounter with those girls outside my office, there was one child who particularly, I cannot get the image of her out of my mind. She must have been about 8 years old. And the look in her eyes were, I mean, her eyes were dead. There was no hope. There was no dreams. There was no innocence of childhood that we would expect from a child of that age. And for me, at that time, my daughter was about 6 or 7 years old at the time. And I thought it was by sheer chance that she was born into a family where she was surrounded by love. She was allowed to dream. So that was kind of, for me, a moment when I thought we had to kind of do something about it. So, like I said, fast forward to 2006, when I decided to set up iPartner India in the UK. And as I think Jasbir has mentioned, but just to mention again, iPartner India is a registered charity in the UK, in India, as well as we now have a sister organization in Canada. And we have raised over 120 crores for about 200 projects, worked in about 23, 24 states of India, and impacted the lives of about 1 million vulnerable men, women, and children. So that's just a brief background about iPartner India itself. Initially, when we started work, we decided that we were working in different verticals as well as different geographies. So we would work on women's empowerment. We had vulnerable children, education, health, environment, different issues. But like I said, this image of Lakshmi never really left me. I felt I had to do something. So a large part, a huge part of our work, then we started focusing on anti-child trafficking. And what we realized and what we learned through years of funding different projects and working with different organizations who work on these issues, we realized that a child who's been abused and sexually abused at that, the trauma never really leaves the child. It's there. I mean, it kind of shows, it rears its head at different times. So our whole thing was, why are we, and working with different organizations, because most organizations worked on the entire spectrum of the trafficking issue, from rescue, rehabilitation, awareness building, advocacy, campaigning, skill building. So lots of organizations were doing lots of different things. But the prevention side of things was sadly lacking. There was very few, almost non-existent, this whole issue of working on the prevention side was almost non-existent. So we asked ourselves this question: why are we pulling people out of the water downstream? Why are we not finding out why are they jumping into the river upstream in the first place? And that was when our Project Rakshan was born. So if I can take you all with me on a little journey, and I want to take you to this area where I'm sure all of you have visited. It is this state that evokes images of palaces and lakes and sand dunes and destination weddings. So welcome to Rajasthan. But travel a bit further with me into the remote villages of Rajasthan. I want to take you to one of the tiny villages where we started working. And this is deep in patriarchal India. This is a small village that celebrates its girl children. A small village where girls dress up with beautiful clothes and wear makeup. A small village where girls are the breadwinners. A small village where all the girls are employed. A small village where the men sit back and and live off the earnings of the bodies of these little girls. A small village where girls have no dreams. A little village where they're born with a destiny bestowed upon them by centuries of tradition, and they are all born to become commercial sex workers. So this is the region where we started our work. We started with great trepidation with just 2 villages. And we are now working in about 28 villages. And this is how kind of Project Rakshan was born. And as you would imagine, it's not an easy task. This is something which has been traditionally accepted. It has the sanction of caste, it has the sanction of religion, it has all the sanctions. So it's very difficult to try and make a difference in these areas. So, and it's also, what we realized was it's the mothers, not the mothers, it's the fathers, the brothers, and the uncles who are actually acting as pimps to send the girls out into Bombay and Delhi as soon as they attain puberty. So what we decided to do was saying that we cannot tackle this problem in isolation. It has to be a holistic solution where we work with the entire community to bring about change. And our primary idea, of course, was to make sure that we have safe and secure spaces for these children so that they are not trafficked. So that was, of course, the primary idea. And our primary idea was to work with these girls, with these young girls. But we realized that we couldn't do that in isolation. We had to work with the entire community. So I'd like, Sumedha, if you can show us the intervention model. So this is how our model looks like. So at the center of it all are the boys and girls. And then around that, we said we have to work with the parents, we have to work with the teachers, we have to create youth groups, we have to work with the local governance and the panchayat, we have to create local Bal Panchayats. So in short, it had to be a completely holistic intervention, which there are, as some of you might know, every district has to have an anti-human trafficking unit. But invariably, nobody is even posted there. So we decided we had to work with the police, we had to work with the village panchayat committee. So in effect, we were working with a whole range, the entire ecosystem of the village. Next slide, Sumedha. So the first intervention that we started was to try and create livelihood options for the women, because unless there was enough money coming into the family, there was no reason for them to stop sending their girls into the sex trade again. So we started this an intervention where we said we'll start to teach the women of the village, the mothers of these girls, to stitch cloth bags. And these cloth bags were made from waste material, which we got from companies which had garment companies. So they would stitch cloth bags, which had a lot of different benefits in terms of, the cloth wasn't going into landfill. We were not having plastic, so there was cloth bags. So we started with 300 women, and that intervention is still going strong. Then we realized we had to work with adolescent boys, because again, if the boys don't understand at that age, if they don't understand that this is not acceptable, and that they have ways of creating a livelihood for themselves with dignity, we can't really bring about change. So we started working with adolescent boys. And now there are a whole lot of youth groups in the 28 villages that we work in, where they are then deciding what are the ways in which they have to intervene to make sure that their sisters stay safe. And of course, the main, like I was saying, the main focus of our work was on these young girls. And we felt that the way to keep them safe was to keep them in school and in education. So we started giving out scholarships. That was also another way where there was a little bit of money coming into the family, and where they could then feel that they were also getting some nutrition. So the family didn't feel that the girls were an additional mouth to feed, and there were scholarships that were given to the children. Then we started creating self-help groups and livelihood generation for the women. So this is one of the groups that we attended when we visited them. So I mean, everybody knows what a self-help group is, so I'm not going to go further into that. And then we started things like seed bank, because a lot of them had a little bit of land, but again, it was very difficult. It was dry, fallow land. So we started setting up a seed bank. And then we started getting the elders of the village, because the most difficult part, or the most challenging part of this whole intervention are the fathers. So we thought we'll try and get them in and get them to be part of this village child protection committee. So give them some importance and make them feel that they are part of this child protection committee. So this is one of the meetings of the child protection committee. And we now have a lot of coordinators and local animators in the local villages in which we work. So this is a photograph of one of the production block coordinator with the kitchen gardens. And I'll come to what happened with COVID a little bit later, and how the kitchen gardens made a big difference when COVID hit in 2020. And I should have probably mentioned this before, but before we started our work in these villages, we conducted a baseline assessment study. So we went to all the villages, spoke to all the women, did a huge baseline study. And along with that, we created a kind of vulnerability index, which then showed us where and in which village, in which families the girls were most vulnerable, at what ages they were, so they were most vulnerable to being trafficked. So this is the inauguration by Sumitra of one of the first livelihood centers that we set up for women. And then this is one of the girls who's got the scholarships from Rakshan. And then, of course, in 2020, COVID hit. So when COVID hit, many of the girls who were in brothels in Bombay and Delhi also came back. And it was a huge problem, because then, because the family income was non-existent, they had, so girls then started to dress up and stand by the way on the highway, trying to attract clients. So we then we knew we had to act very quickly. So we started giving out rations, we started providing food, we started providing medicines. And it was a really, really pathetic time for the villages during that time. And then, of course, we started doing a bit of training on self-defense for the young girls. And I think just last, this is another of our, once when we visited, we went and met the Children's Panchayat. And this is a really inspiring thing, because these girls then create a kind of peer group where they work, where they keep an eye out for their peers and make sure that none of the girls go missing on their watch. Because invariably they tell us, or the coordinators, that we're just sending them to their auntie's house or their uncle's house or whatever. But these children know better. So this kind of peer group and the Bal Panchayats has been transformational in saving many girls' lives. So this is our final model. And of course, we do a lot of leadership training with girls. So like we said, it's a huge intervention model, which is holistic. So these are the young girls who've gone through a leadership program. And then we set up smart boards in classes. So we got funding to set up smart boards, because again, children felt that it was just impossible. Teachers wouldn't turn up in the government schools. So this is one such smart board where we had installed the smart board in this village. And this is just us presenting the scholarship certificates to the children who awarded scholarships under Rakshan. And of course, during COVID, they were stitching bags, but they also started stitching masks and other products. And I think that then coming to this kitchen gardens, this I think turned out to be quite a lifesaver for many of the families, because they did not have food to eat. And when this kitchen garden started to bear fruit and vegetable, they were also able to provide some of this to the other families around, the other families who weren't provided with kitchen gardens. So this time, I mean, I think just about 2 weeks ago, both Sumedha and I visited the project, and this is taken from them when they were telling us what a difference this thing had made to their lives during COVID. And yes, so this was then having a chat with the scholars and finding out how life was for them. And here I just want to quickly just tell you one of the case studies. I think Sumedha and I were trying to talk to the girls to find out how things are and whether the scholarship is making a difference now. And one of the girls just wasn't talking. She wasn't telling us, she just wasn't engaging with us. And we were wondering what could have potentially happened. And of course, we were talking to them in a group, and then we decided we'll just talk to her separately. So we took her aside and started to talk to her. And then we realized that she said, there's no food at home. There's no food for us to eat at home. And I haven't eaten at all. And my parents are saying to me, it's all very well for you to get a scholarship, but if there's no food to eat, we'll have to send you. I mean, we'll have to send you to Bombay or Delhi. This is not going to work if there's not even food to eat. So then we realized that when we were talking, when I was saying that we're having a holistic approach, what we thought we will do is that we'll connect all of these people, all of these families to the public distribution system, make sure that they have ration cards, and make sure that at least some basic food is available, basic rice and dal is available. But there are many children who fall through the nets because a lot of the men disappear and they take their ration cards with them and disappear. So the women then don't have access to ration. So we're now just in the process of setting up community kitchens where children who fall through the net and where food security becomes an issue, that we provide that kind of security too. So that is, that's in, and just to say that we think, I mean, it was quite transformational, I think, for both Sumedha and me when we visited the project. And we can see a lot of change, especially from when we started in 2018 to now in 2022. But change is coming, but like we've said, but like we say, the revolution is far away, and we need everybody to join on this journey with us to make it happen. One of the programs that we are that is doing really well, one of the campaigns that we are running is called Educate Her, Empower Her. And all it takes is 1,200 rupees a month to educate one child at Rakshan. So I think that's, I'm going to stop here, and we are just going to show you a short film on our intervention. So it'll actually kind of transport you into some of the villages where we work.
I just need 2 minutes, Bina, it's just buffering. So in the meantime, if there are any questions, we can.
Sure, yeah. So maybe till the film comes on, if there's.
Thank you, Bina. Really very, very informative talk and very heartwarming work that you're doing there for these children. I would definitely, from Rotary, I'd like to say if there's any way we can associate with you in any form of intervention, do let us know. We'll be happy to do some work with you. That's wonderful work that you people are doing.
Thank you very much. Like we said, we are currently in about 28 villages, but it's literally limitless. There are about 100 villages where this intervention is needed.
You're mostly focused around the North India or South India?
Because this tradition, I mean, in South India too, I'm sure you've heard of the Devdasi system, where we have funded a lot of projects around the Devdasi system in South India. But in North India, because it is sanctioned, it's kind of traditional, and this whole prevention, we thought this is where I think if we make a difference and we get the model right. So this is our pilot in a way, where we say in the first 5 years is a pilot for us to see whether it works. And then we can take it everywhere. So we're doing work with the Devdasis too. But yeah, we'll watch the film and then we'll come back to. Is it still buffering, Sumedha?
Yes, now just 1 second more.
Okay, okay.
यहाँ पे वेश्यावृत्ति धंधा बहुत बढ़ रहा है और इसे कोई नहीं रोक पा रहा है। जो लड़कियां इस वेश्यावृत्ति धंधे में चली गई, उनके भाइयों की सोच भी बहुत गंदी है। वो बस अपनी बहनों के पैसों पे ऐश करते हैं, उनके साथ बहुत बुरा व्यवहार किया जाता है और ना तो खाना टाइम पे देते हैं और दवाइयाँ खिला खिला के उन्हें बहुत जल्दी बड़ा किया जाता है। 10 साल की उम्र में ही उनका ऐसा लगने लग जाता है जैसे कि वो 25-20 साल की हो चुकी है। हमारे कई पीढ़ियों से होता आ रहा है, तो अब ऐसे बोलते कि ये बंद नहीं होगा। अब
मैं पढ़ना चाहती हूँ। जब मैं किसी बैंक में जाती हूँ तो किसी मैडम को देखती हूँ बैंक में, तो मेरा मन करता है कि मैं भी एक बैंक में मैनेजर कुछ भी होती। हमें बहुत लाभ हो रहा है और यहाँ पर बहुत सारे बच्चों को पढ़ने की शिक्षा पता चली है। अब पहले वो समझते नहीं थे कि ये पढ़ाई वढ़ाई क्या होती है। छोड़ो, जो हमारे पास जो सुविधा नहीं थी इन्होंने हमें दिए। हमें 10वीं की ओपन से एग्ज़ाम एंड 12th के सब भी इन्होंने हमें सपोर्ट किया है।
ये जो सब्जी वगैरह का बेचने का दुकान लगाने का दिया है ना रोज का, इससे मेरा खर्चा चल जाता है। और मेरी तो मजबूरी थी, अब नहीं, मेरे बच्चों को थोड़ी ना परेशानी में डालूंगी। मेरा तो सपना ये है कि उनको पढ़ा के और अच्छे से नौकरी लगा दूं, डॉक्टर बना दूं।
इस कम्युनिटी में सुधार लाना बहुत ज़रूरी है और आप और हम मिलकर करेंगे तभी ये संभव हो पाएगा। मैं सर सबसे पहले बेसिकली अपने परिवार को ठीक कर रहा हूँ, उसको देख के लोग इंस्पायर्ड हो और उनकी सोच बदले। बस मेरा सपना सर गवर्नमेंट जॉब लगना और दोनों सिस्टर को भी मैं जॉब लगाऊँ, नहीं तो फिर अच्छे से काम में सेट करूँ ताकि वो खुद कमा कर खा सके।
Oh, that was a very touching video. Very nice. Thank you so much. I open out to questions. Please unmute and ask a question if you have to. Yes, Jasbir, please go ahead.
You know, it's quite shocking and saddening that something like this is happening in the 21st century. You know, awareness that we have some idea about this subject, but not everybody has a knowledge of how deep it is. My question is that isn't there some legislation or something which can prevent this apart from empowerment? Are they not? Is there no legislation these guys are worried about or scared of from the government side for anti-trafficking?
See, legally, we know that it's unlawful, especially with children. So the law is very clear. So even for us, actually, and I wanted to mention this in the sense that this film also, we can't actually, please don't stream it live. I mean, right now, I know it's been streamed live on YouTube, but please don't have it up after this, because it's a very tight rope that we walk in these communities, because we know it's illegal, but the police, and as you know, everyone is hand in glove with this. So the police are hand in glove. Everybody knows it's happening, but nobody wants to do something about it. So it becomes a bit of a problem. If we take the legal course, all of them will be put behind bars, and the children, again, I don't think we can actually expect too much change to happen. So what we thought was we try and work below the radar, not actually say that we are stopping child trafficking. And we're saying we're creating safe spaces, trying to use all of these words. So they allow us in the villages, they allow us to work. Otherwise, in the dead of night, these children will disappear. And I have gone to places in Assam where in a place called Kokrajhar, where every single home I have visited, a lady will come out and show me the photograph of her child and say she was taken away in the dead of night. And these are kidnapped by outsiders, not even the family. And saying they're taken away in the dead of night, and there's nothing we can do about it. We're too poor. We live in forests. We live in little shanty kind of houses. So legally, to answer your to give you the short answer, legally, it's wrong. It can't be done. It is a crime. They can be booked. But if we do that, it's very hard to then stop this practice. They'll do it illegally. It'll all go underground. So at least by providing options for women, providing options for the adults and boys, because that's also been a huge change that we have seen. And I think Sumedha can tell you more, because I think she was part of one of those training sessions for the boys, where they want lives of dignity, but they didn't know what to do before this. So, and Sumedha, if you can just tell us a bit about the skill training that ICICI does with these adolescent boys and the kind of jobs that they're getting now.
Sure. Thank you, Beena. So basically, like Beena said, this is something which is illegal, but obviously it is a customary thing, and the government also, and the authorities are also very careful about how do they intervene in there. So we work with the entire system, and when we work with the youth, we realize, especially the young boys, they are born into a family where they are told they have to become pimps, but it is not by their choice. So when we were having these trainings, and they were saying they want to be in like a proper office, they want to be an assistant under administration. So they had different dreams. And that's when we contacted ICICI Skill Academy, which is based in Jaipur. And the area that we work is 2 hours from Jaipur. So we connected with them. And as a result, every year boys go there to get skilled. And now some of them are working as salespeople, some of them are working as office assistants, and also in banks in terms of, the recovery of loans and all those kind of agents. And the kind of confidence that these boys are now having is of a different level, because now they are also understanding that when we also have a job like this, our sisters also will not be forced into a work, and I will also not just remain a pimp. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharmila, you have a question?
Yeah, Beena, my understanding with child trafficking is typically there are these huge syndicates, right, that operate especially in Mumbai and Bangalore, and a lot of powerful people are usually involved in child trafficking. So I just want to know, how do you face these situations? Do you get threatened while tackling these issues? Do you face? I know there is a lot of danger in the work that you do, but just trying to understand, what is it that you all can do as an organization to ensure that all these powerful people don't come in your way to stop you from doing what you are doing. And I'm certain there is a certain amount of danger that you're constantly facing, especially when you're trying to stop child trafficking at the grassroots levels, because I think there is this big hierarchy. It starts in a small village and goes up to the to the top cities and up to the most powerful people. So just give us an insight in terms of what are the obstacles that you face in this regard.
Yeah, I think, many of the organizations that we worked with in the past would do the actual rescue. And there they were coming into direct conflict with the big guys who had the big syndicates and where the money would change hands. In the areas we are working in, it's the actual fathers and brothers and uncles who are selling them. It's not even into this big syndicates where they're getting kidnapped, like in Assam, where I was just talking about. There, it's actually the syndicates that send out these whatever lookout kind of guys who know where these young girls are and kidnap them. And then those, if you come in contact with them, I don't think we will live to tell the tale. But there are organizations that are working on that. It is it's a very powerful, you're absolutely right. It's a very powerful syndicate. There's no way we can break that. But so what we were trying to do is saying that let's work in communities where we can prevent this by working with the entire family themselves. So they see the benefits of not sending their girls into prostitution. If they're kidnapped, and there are other organizations which are working on this whole thing of kidnap, like Satyarthi and people like that, who know that when their children are forced into forced labor and all of those things, there are organizations that work on that. But we are not coming in direct conflict with the law with the law or with the police. We work with them, and because they know this is happening. It's not like they don't know. So we are saying to them, you can't be complicit. So work with us to make sure that this is stopped. And earlier it was, how can we do that? There's no money here. We have no money to eat. We have no money to live. The only way we can get money, and like we had mentioned in the film, these earlier, they were the jugglers and the acrobats and the bear. They take those bear dancing. There were all of those kinds of tribes. Once those jobs went away, they had no other jobs to do. And the government was not providing any other jobs for them. So we thought, at least in these communities, and there are no end of these communities. There's all of these tribes, whether it's the Bedia, the Nat, there are lots of these tribes which do this as a tradition. They say it's our parampara. And earlier they used to tell us very proudly that this is our parampara. Now they don't talk about it like that. They kind of, they're actually proud when the children are coming back from, and some of the more children who were at great risk, we sent them to school in a residential school called Banasali in Jaipur. So we kind of got them out and sent them away if they were at high risk of being trafficked. So even us, we are not in that kind of mortal danger, but we cannot, we can't risk messing with even these communities and families, because they'll just shut the doors and won't let us in and won't let us work in these communities anymore. So we are walking a very thin line and trying hard to bring about change in this long-term kind of way. trying to say education, livelihood option, making sure that the money that's coming into the family, I don't think we can ever match what is coming into the family through the sex trade. But again, it's a question of self-esteem, confidence, working with the adolescent boys, working with the fathers, trying to kind of work on their sense of morality, their sense of shame. How do you send your girls into prostitution and live off the earnings of these? And literally 12-year-old girls, they should just attain puberty and they're sent off. So has that answered your question, Shabila? Is that, yeah.
Right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Ms. Beena, this is Venkat here. Andhra is also known to have a lot of these
yes,
issues and very similar tribes and all that. So
yes.
Are you also looking at Andhra Pradesh?
Like I said, I mean, this, I've worked with a lot of projects and organizations in Andhra. So I know the situation, but I think for us, because this was an intervention that hasn't actually been tried before, working with this entire ecosystem, doing this kind of thing, doing it with the support of the families, because a lot of people go in there, get them arrested. The pimps get arrested, but they turn up after 4 days after having bribed the police, they turn up back again after 4 days. So we felt that those kinds of interventions were not really going anywhere unless we work at the grassroots level and try and change mindsets. So this is, in a way, our pilot. We are still only, like I said, in 28 villages. In this area itself, there are about 100 villages. I think the first time when Sumedha and I had visited, we were literally get out by a whole group of women saying to us, why are you not coming to our villages? What is it that we have done that you haven't come to work in our villages? You're only working those 28, but there are another 100 villages that need this intervention. So, and we also want to make sure that the foundation is strong. We know that the impact is deep enough. It will bring about change. So and we're still kind of very young in this field. It's still 2018 is when we started. So we're waiting to make sure that the model works. And then, of course, the next challenge is, of course, money. How do we start to raise the money? Because as we know, raising the money for these kinds of issues is not easy. People don't want to know about it. Like I was saying, it cuts too close to the bone. They don't want to think of children being in this situation. So they'd rather shut their eyes than actually fund something like this. They'd fund education. So that's why we are going the roundabout route and saying, fund the education of this girl. That will indirectly stop her from being trafficked also. So it's a slow process, but no, I know, and I've visited a lot of these areas in Andhra, so I know the situation. I know the situation in Karnataka in parts of Karnataka, but yeah, we will. I mean, our dream is to to actually put a stop to this. I don't know if it'll happen in my lifetime, but it's the dream to make sure that no child has to undergo this.
Thank you, Beena. If I'm permitted, I have one more last question. You mentioned that you definitely can't match up to the kind of earning potential that they have in sex trade. But of course, sex trade is a very short-lived profession.
Yes.
They don't even take to live long. So do you do a kind of analysis and say going the dignified way in the long run actually provides you better than sex trade?
Exactly.
Is that also part of your education?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, no, you're spot on, because at the age of 35, even 35 is a bit old by the brothel standards in Bombay and Delhi. So they send them back. So by the time they're 30, and then they come back with 2 or 3 kids again, because again, they're not, and they don't know who the father is and all of that. So their earning potential is finished by that time. That's why they're starting younger and younger now. That's why they're injecting them with growth hormones and sending them off even earlier. And again, it's not so much the mothers, it's the fathers who are the fathers and brothers. So we are trying to tell them, but then they think that what they are actually doing, because I think one of my first questions to Sumedha and the team was also saying, what are the mothers doing? How are they sending the girls? How are they allowing the girls to be sent out? And they were saying these women most times don't even come from Rajasthan. These men go off into the depths of Jharkhand and Bihar and some of the Bimaru states, find women who don't even speak the language, bring them back, keep them inside the house literally as bonded labor. They can't speak the language even, just to produce kids. And girl, of course, is hugely celebrated, but boys then are put into this kind of thing. So it's a different kind of challenge to try and convince them that this is what you're doing. If you look at your earning potential, they just think they can go and marry someone else and bring back that wife and produce more children. So it's just a whole mindset kind of thing that has to change. And of course, and with the women, I think for us, one option of bringing the women out into the stitching program also was just to get them out of their homes. So we could start working with them and then talk to them about their own health, and all of them, of course, are not at all happy with the situation, but they have no choice. And the choice comes with some amount of economic freedom, some amount of freedom of health, freedom of, so all of those things, once we have them captive in the clothes stitching or the bag stitching unit, then we talk to them about all of these issues. Because door to door you go, they won't allow you into the homes even. So you have to have them in a place like this saying they're earning money. So every day if they earn 200 rupees and bring it back, because every bag they stitch, we would give them 20 rupees. And so, or 10 rupees, if they stitch 20 bags, they'd get 200 rupees. So that was a big incentive for the men to send these women out. Once we had them out there, then we would start talking to them about all of these issues.
So, Narayan, you have a question? You can unmute.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, Vinod. Thanks, Beena. This has been, really eye-opening. I think you've only seen some of these things in Bollywood movies.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of questions, right? So one, as you said, you have been doing this work from 2018 with 28 villages. So what is the sustenance model of this, right? Because many times, if it is, purely funding and continuing, sometimes it also tend to become crutches rather than anything else. And the second question is, are there organizations similar to you all who are also doing this work, and have you all explored opportunity of actually, it's like the power of five, right? If you're one organization, five similar organizations connect with each other, then it really becomes much more powerful. So is there anything on that lines being done? Because then there is a much larger voice.
Yes. So just to answer your second question, I think the reason we intervened ourselves and started this project was because there were not many organizations working on the prevention side. Everybody was focused on the rescue, on the rehabilitation, on all of those things. So there were not many. And like we said, for us, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. If somebody was doing it, we were willing to work with them. So our whole model in the beginning was working with partners. And that's why we called ourselves iPartner India, saying let's partner with projects and organizations who know what they're doing for doing it well. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel and create another charity which is doing similar work. So we looked around quite a lot and we talked, and in our time over the last 15 years, we funded at least about 25, 30 such organizations, but none of them were willing to enter the prevention side. They said it's not, and most of them work in Bombay and Delhi. They work in the big cities where they work on the rescue part. So they were not in these villages and they needed more people on the ground. So they didn't have that kind of infrastructure to be able to work on the prevention side of things. So that's why I said with trepidation, we started in the first two villages, because initially that wasn't our strength and that wasn't what we would have wanted to do. Our whole idea was collaboration and partnership. But there were hardly any. And even now we work with different organizations on the ground to do different things. So if there's a really good organization that's working on governance, we work with them on the governance aspect. But on the whole prevention side, with this kind of holistic model, in this region, we haven't found anyone. So that was why we started, and we did it ourselves rather than work in partnership. And I'm sorry, I think I've forgotten the first one. The first part of your question.
Yeah, first one is more in terms of, the sustenance model.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, so initially, I mean, basically, because what we are doing is setting up things like kitchen gardens, self-help groups, seed banks. So a lot of those are self-sustaining. Even the stitching, I mean, once the sewing machines are given to the women, it's self-sustaining. After that, we are not taking the machines back, or we don't own the machines. We're giving it to the people in the village. So they're able to stitch. They're able to then, many of them have started their own little shops in the village to start off this. We set up grocery shops. If you in the film, there is this lady who started a grocery shop. So that is self-sustaining. We don't need to keep providing income. With scholarships, again, we hope that that is a one-time kind of investment, where once they're educated, we don't need to then constantly keep supporting them. With the adolescent boys, again, it's the same thing. Once they're skilled, once ICICI Bank and various other organizations come in to build their skill, their capacity, then they've got jobs, and they will make sure that the sisters are not sent, because they have then got jobs with dignity. So that is how we thought it would be. But still, when we want to move to a new village, it still needs money. So this 28 villages has been funded by different donors, different people. So these 28, I'm sure will be able to go on and be sustainable. But if we want to work in the 100 villages, we want to work more, and we want to create this system, that will need some money initially, the one-time kind of investment. But I think it is sustainable. And our whole model has been, whichever organization we work with, even when we are partnering, that we will fund them for a period of 5 to 7 years, and then help them fly the nest. We push them out of the nest so that they're then able to stand on their own feet. So that's been one of our kind of mantras.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have time for one more question. Harpreet, you have a question?
Hi, Beena, Preeti here. Sorry, my video is not on because I'm slightly indisposed today. Yeah, just wondering, can you share any kind of account number where we can deposit money directly?
Sorry, can I share?
Can you share the account number of your organization? Yeah,
that is music to my ears. I will share it with great happiness. Shall I send it to Jasbir?
I'm so touched that I cannot even tell you. I'm sure everyone here is, and everyone can put in their might, and maybe we can start a Rotary project also to help whatever we can do. Absolutely. For your organization. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much. Absolutely. That really has made my day. Thank you so much, Harpreet.
Harpreet, I think you echoed all our sentiments. Really wonderful work that you people are doing. If there are no other questions, may I request Sharmila Ravinder to propose the formal vote of thanks?
So thank you, Beena, for this insightful talk where you have shared your valuable inputs in trying to break this vicious cycle of child trafficking. It is indeed heartwarming to know that individuals like Beena have dedicated so much of their time, energy, and valuable resources to address this pertinent issue. As a mother of 2 girl childs, it is so gratifying to hear what you and your organization are doing, especially given that we are residing in a country where the volume of child trafficking is possibly one of the highest in the world, where 1 child disappears every 8 minutes. Your work is indeed meritorious, and we completely appreciate the gargantuan challenges that you face. To give real service, one must add something which cannot be bought or measured with money. And it is always sincerity, integrity, and dedication. And that is what Beena has been doing. We thank you sincerely for your time here today and for the time that you've given and continue to give to ensure that our country is a safe place for our children to grow in. I'm reminded of, the famous lines from Heal the World. We want to make this a better place for our children and our children's children so that they know it's a better world for them. Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. So thank you so much, Beena, for healing the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm actually at a loss for words. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Sharmila. Thank you very much. And once again, on behalf of the entire Rotary family, Beena, we commend you and Sumedha for the wonderful work you're doing. Keep it going. And if there's any way we can associate you and help you in this great endeavor of yours, we are there for you. Thank you. And let's give a big round of applause for Beena Rani and Sumita. Thank you.
Thank you. No, it's an honor.
With this, I adjourn this meeting. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you sometime, Beena.